In this video, we'll be taking apart the OnePlus 12R. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified once I upload a new video. Also, if you need any tools, there are links in the description. To start off, the SIM tray needs to be removed. Looking at the SIM tray, we can see a red rubber gasket around the opening. At this point, heat needs to be applied to the backplate using either a hairdryer or a heat gun to loosen up the adhesive underneath, and then a pry tool can be used to pry the backplate off. I prefer to use a hairdryer since there's less of a chance of damaging any of the components inside by overheating them. Here's a look at the glass backplate. There are now 19 Phillips screws which need to be removed. Looking at this top plastic cover, we can see an antenna flex cable, including the NFC antenna. There's a rear color temperature sensor, and the LED flash on the top corner. Taking a look at the other side, we can see an area of graphite film to help transfer heat. The battery cable can now be disconnected, followed by the rest of the cables. The 3 coaxial cables on the bottom right side of the board can be disconnected by just popping them off. There are 2 Phillips screws which are holding down the main board. Taking a look at the main board, we can see the 50 megapixel primary camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. The camera connectors can be disconnected by just popping them off. The primary camera is the only one with OIS or optical image stabilization. There's a secondary microphone on the top corner. Below that is the liquid damage indicator sticker, which is that white sticker. There are rubber gaskets around the connectors, and graphite film over the shield to help transfer heat. Looking at the other side, we can see the 16 megapixel front facing camera. Next to that is the infrared or IR blaster, some copper tape behind the primary camera, and more graphite film and thermal paste on the back shields to help transfer heat. Once that's been peeled back, we see a lot more thermal paste on top of the processor and RAM, as well as thermal pads on these chips. Here's a better look with the thermal paste and thermal pad removed. Now to remove the battery, there's a pull pouch provided to help you pry the battery off. This is the dual cell battery, with each cell consisting of 2750 mAh totaling 5,500 milliamp hours. This is the bottom speaker assembly, and there's a rubber gasket and mesh filter over the speaker opening. The flex cable for the screen is located on the bottom corner of the subboard. These two flex cables connect the main board to the subboard. Once these flex cables have been peeled back, we see a large copper vapor chamber which runs underneath the battery, as well as the motherboard. There's a single Phillips screw which is holding down the subboard. Taking a look at the subboard, we see rubber gaskets around the connectors, as well as the charger port. The SIM reader is located on the other side. If you needed to replace the screen, you'd have to remove the back plate, the screws on the bottom speaker assembly and the speaker assembly itself. You would then disconnect the flex cables and remove the subboard, giving you access to the screen flex cable. You would lift up and remove the red rubber gasket by the screen cable, at which point you would heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry the old screen off, apply new adhesive and reapply the new screen, making sure you run the flex cable back to the opening in the mid-frame, and reassemble the phone. The haptic feedback or vibrator motor is located here, which is held on with some adhesive. To replace that, just apply some heat and pry it off. There is also an antenna board on the bottom corner, which the black coaxial cable is connected to. This is the flex cable for the power button, and the one over here for the volume keys. If you need to replace either flex cable, you would have to remove the plastic brackets inside the frame by just pulling them out, and then you'd peel off the flex cables. Once the plastic brackets have been removed, the volume buttons and power button will be released, so then you can pull them out of the frame. The proximity sensor board is located here, which is held down with some adhesive, and the same goes for the earpiece speaker located next to that. To replace those, just apply heat and pry them off. For the repairability score on this phone, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, apply new adhesive and reapply the back plate. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.